I'm Chris Phelan. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I've been in Japan 20 years. I'm a lifelong liberal, and I got involved in politics when I was in high school. I started making contributions to Greenpeace and the Sierra Club, so I was quite active in environmentalism. And I guess one of the things that really interests me and makes me optimistic is how many of the issues that I was passionate about in high school that have turned our way. And we've changed minds, we've changed people's attitudes, we've changed our country, and we've influenced other countries around the world. So I know the power of being involved. I've been lightly involved in the Democrats Abroad for a long time and have showed up at events and volunteered some time, but I've never been a member of the official member. Now I have time. I have 2 boys that are 10 years old. They're twins, and they're becoming more independent and doing their homework and putting on their shoes. They're not quite brushing their teeth as often as they should, and there's a few things that I need to tweak, but I know I can get them on the right path. So I think basically because my kids are at a stage where they're more independent, I do have the time, I have the energy, I have the desire to be involved. I want to see the Democrats Abroad have a deep bench, have a lot of people participating, have a lot of resources that we can pull on over the years. I'm going to be here for a while in Japan, so I want to make myself available and start doing some good work. And I think that's important. I think I can bring in maybe people that haven't been exposed to Democrats Abroad yet. I have a salesman's attitude. I like talking, I like selling, I like meeting people, and just generally being out there and doing things. I was asked by Lauren if I was interested in participating. I was like, yeah, that would be great, and I think she asked me because I think she understands that I have something to contribute. I get along with basically pretty much everybody I meet, including Mike. And I think Mike's a great guy, and I think he would be a great person as well. But I'm coming from a different perspective, which is someone that wants to get involved for the first time, and I think that counts for a lot. That's basically my statement. If anybody has a question.
Just in terms of the treasurer job financially, can you give us a little bit of your professional background? Why treasurer would be cool with you?
On the business background, I've basically been working in IT and e-commerce. I've run a couple of companies. I've worked as a country manager for a large organization that had about 120 employees. I know how to manage a balance sheet. I can manage a P&L. I can manage nitty-gritty stuff. I find working with numbers to be pretty easy, and I'm guessing that the Democrats Abroad Japan balance sheet is not that complicated. And I think the important thing is transparency, having everybody feel comfortable that everything's being managed properly, because it goes to the credibility of our party. It goes to the credibility of the voters who want to know that the people that are involved are doing it properly. So even if the money's not big, we still have to make sure that we do it in a way that everybody feels like these people are doing it well and they're doing it properly, and they'll push up to the higher organization and make sure that they're doing it well also. So that's basically how I view the role. Also, being a part of a team as treasurer, I want to make sure that I'm supporting the rest of the team and working with them to further the goals of the organization and the party.
I guess the question is, for me, you seem quite passionate about the political aspect of being involved in these things. And my sense, which may be wrong, is that this treasurer role does get into a lot of nitty-gritty that may not be all that interesting. And so are you really cognizant of that and willing to sort of, you know, do that role, knowing that it's sort of non-sexy, if you will?
Yeah.
He said he was in IT.
Yeah, I have a whole boring side. Yeah, I can bring passion to the political process in many ways. I don't have to be a member of the Democrats Abroad to do that. I can work with an organization, a nonprofit, a organization that has a specific agenda, and I've done that in the past. So I know that that's always an option. If I want to release my creativity or contribute in that way, I can do that. But with the Democrats Abroad Japan, I think that we need to have an organization and we need to have structure, and we need to have that organization to try and further the goals that we want at the election time. And you know, as Chris mentioned, we've got people in Japan and they need to interface with somebody, and they need to have an organization there to serve them. So for this role, I view it as a role as getting stuff done and making sure that we got a structure there so that we can support Democrats who live here.
Okay. Anyone else?
I know this isn't, it's actually not part of the treasurer job, I guess, but I don't think we have a fundraiser, head of fundraising right now. Do you see yourself as sort of taking over some of that?
Yeah, I can do that quite easily if that's one of the goals that we decide we want to do. I can raise funds.
In the past, it has and hasn't been a part of that role, depending on the person filling the role. The short answer to that is, it'll be up to the agenda of the officer team once they're assembled, and they can either make that the responsibility of the treasurer, which is happening right now at the international level, or they can appoint someone as a specific person to do development and fundraising, depending on the situation.
Maybe you don't know this yet because you haven't assumed the role, but how large is the budget for the Democrats in Japan? What's the source of the funding, and what kind of expenses does it have?
I don't know that much about the financials. The way that it's been described to me by Lauren is that it's quite small, and then it's basically around voter registration, and it's just small amounts of monies in the sort of like Juman-en, Nijuman-en range.
Where does it come from?
We do fundraisers. So as we go into election cycles, we raise money specifically for GOTV. So just recently, Mike Honda visited. He's a congressional representative from the 17th district in California. And we did a little breakfast thing with him, and a part of the after cost, everything else went to Democrats Abroad. These are like little fundraisers that usually bring in between 7,000 and say 20,000 or 30,000 yen. Over time, you build that up, and in the 2-year cycle, we try to spend as much of that as possible. None of it goes to like administration stuff because we're all volunteers. So for example, expenses you asked, they had to do a mailing to people that don't have an email address for the current election. So that mailing is paid out of general funds. And then everything else we try to spend on advertising. Mostly advertising our Vote From Abroad website to try to drive people who don't know about us to register to vote. So we spend all the money. We have to be very careful about how we raise money and how we spend it, because we are not registered with the FEC, and there are things that we are allowed to do and things that we're not allowed to do. So we're only allowed to spend our funds on general voter registration efforts. We can't spend any money on particular candidates. We're not allowed to do that because we're not registered with the Federal Election Committee. So once the treasurer takes over the role, the guidelines from international, which are also in both sets of bylaws, tell you what you can and can't do. But it's usually between, our budget is usually between 150 to 200, 300,000 yen. In the Obama election, we had more money to spend because people were very enthusiastic. But generally speaking, over a 2-year cycle, you end up with about 200,000 yen so far.
Is there any kind of tax implications or filing that needs to be done?
No, as long as we follow really specific guidelines, we don't have to file. But if we cross any lines, then we can get in trouble, and so can Democrats Abroad. And we can't, the biggest rule is we can't accept any money from foreign, non-foreign nationals. So no Japanese people.
Need to be an American.
Right.
Non-foreign.
Need to be an American.
You need to be an American. Non-Americans. I guess I'm trying to
Then we
say.
can do
So,
an ad that says, we can't say vote Obama, we can say vote.
vote.
Can you
So
say
that-
both Democratic?
Yes, we can say it can be partisan, party politics, but not candidate specific.
Speaking again, just briefly as a narrative,
Very
I
good.
love saying that. Oh, this shouldn't count on you, I'm sorry, but I was involved.
She's talking.
I know, no, sorry, I'm a narrative, yo. But the thing is, we're actually a part of the Democratic Party officially, that's still true, right? And so they pay the taxes, they have to account finally, they're the ones who have the type of accounting that a small corporate, small corporation would have to make, that normally you think we do, but we don't, because we actually don't.
Then do we send our records to them?
Democrats Abroad International raises money separate from the local country committees, and they have to file with the FEC. They're registered, we're not.
Discussion.
Sorry.
It's just kind of like,
Any other questions?
this is gonna be the best part on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, I think I'm done.